What's going on, everyone? So we're all still waiting around to see what is going to happen with Lauri Markkanen and particularly the Golden State Warriors. Right now, the Golden State Warriors appear to be in the driver's seat in regards to landing a Lauri Markkanen. They basically could have him right now if they're willing to give up the package necessary to acquire him and kind of what the Utah Jazz want. Now, there is still a lot of time between now and training camp, right? Right now, there's constant back and forth negotiations, not only with like the Jazz and the Warriors, but the Jazz and other teams as well as just other teams in general. Right? You have a lot of time. Teams are being patient. You get closer to training camp, all of a sudden things kind of change. Asking prices come down slightly. Teams are more willing to give up more, right? Because they want that guy for training camp. They don't want to wait, right? And the Warriors are kind of in this position of a bit of a rock and a hard place, right? And it's kind of like, if you're the Warriors, is it worth going after Lauri Markkanen and giving up what is necessary to give up? And is he also, even if you are willing, is he the right piece next to Steph Curry to kind of take you to that next level? It's questions that they're all going to have to answer. And the Warriors are very reluctant on giving up a couple of their young guys. So, based on reports, Joe Lacob, Warriors don't want to give up Pod and Kuminga for Lauri Markkanen. Warriors Governor Joe Lacob told The Athletic they don't want to give up on either player after they emerged as key pieces for the team last season. Also worth noting is that NBA insider Mark Stein reported earlier this week that Kuminga would be a player Golden State would most likely include in a Lauri Markkanen trade or any big swing deal rather than Pod. Stein did note that the Warriors offered Markkanen thus far have been built around Moses Moody and draft compensation, with neither Pod or Kuminga being offered. So, again, I understand wanting to keep these young guys. They were very impressive last year. Kuminga really looks like a guy that has star potential. He's just got to kind of get more consistent, kind of focus and stay engaged and focused, right? You can kind of lose that at times. But I understand the reluctancy in wanting to keep these two guys. But this is the problem that I've kept talking about and highlighted, is that the Warriors want to keep the young guys because they have a very good young roster. But you also want to keep Steph Curry, and you owe it to Steph Curry to try to get him as close to a championship as possible. Otherwise, trade him, right? Like, it's in the best interest, and this is why I've said numerous times, and people tell me, you shouldn't even talk about trading Steph Curry and all that stuff, and I get it. There is this love to Golden State fans. But if you remove your bias and love for Steph and Golden State, and you look at the situation, it doesn't make sense for the Warriors to keep Steph. It is in the Warriors' best interest to trade Steph because you have all this young talent with Moody and Kuminga and Pod and Trace and all these guys that are very valuable for now and the future, and you can start building and giving them the opportunity and allowing them to go through their hiccups and hurdles and all that. And then you're also going to get an insane return for Steph. Even at 36, you're going to get a great return. You might not get this insane overhaul because he is still up there in age, but he is a guy that many teams would sell quite a bit for. And now you're adding more picks and more young players and all of that. So to me, if you're Golden State, I just think based on what is being said, it kind of feels kind of clear. Either that or you don't believe Lauri Markkanen is enough to really be a needle mover, which is fine. Then just say that, right? I understand it's all part of the conversation and the negotiation, right? If the Warriors can get Lauri Markkanen for the price that they want, fine. I could see them doing it. But I don't believe that they're going to trade what is necessary in order to get Lauri Markkanen because they want to keep the young guys. So now you're going into the season with basically the same team. I do think that they're a little better. I do like some of the key pieces that they picked up, even without Clay, even though that they lost Klay Thompson. I still think the Warriors are slightly better, but your main guys are still your main guys from last year, right? I mean, even Clay ended up getting kind of phased out to being a role player off the bench. And now it's like, okay, we saw that. So unless Kuminga really takes some insane strides, and on top of that, Andrew Wiggins gets back to that 2020 playoff level form, right? And you start getting all those things. It just now maybe you could be. I don't think you're a contender, but I think now like you could at least be a playoff team. I just think right now the currently constructed, I do think that they're slightly better. I wouldn't be shocked if they're a playoff team, but I still think that they're more likely than not going to be a play-in team. And, also you look at like things that Draymond said, right? Draymond even said, I'm on the wrong side of my downhill slide. Like I'm headed into year 13. I probably got 2 more seasons left. So again, pick a lane. You're either going all in to make the push to try to get Draymond and Steph one last championship. That's your goal, right? We owe it to them. They won us titles, right? We need to do right by them. And then give it all up and go get a championship and start all over after they ride off into the sunset, right? Because like Draymond said, he's got 2 seasons. Okay, so basically when his contract's over, everything's done. That's it. End of an era. Well, it's already kind of end of an era, but officially, like, that's it. The last remnants of an era are likely done. Steph is probably gone at that point, right? I mean, although you could argue Steph could probably play till he's 50 with how well he could shoot. He could always move in that Ray Allen role at some point. But my point is that, like, they seem like they're 1 foot in, 1 foot out. They seem like a team that really wants to keep and stay young, but they also want to build a team that's competitive enough to win a championship. And it's like those 2 things aren't meshing. It's kind of like you either get one, you either get the other, right? Even if they do get Lauri Markkanen and pair him with Steph, I definitely think that they're a playoff team. I don't think that they're a real contender still. I think they need Lauri Markkanen and then, right? So if you could get Lauri Markkanen and, even like if you could get like a Walker Kessler in the deal. So now you got a legit center, right? You could even, if you wanted to, go Steph, Wiggins, Markkanen, Kessler, and Draymond. Something like that. Like get a real center, start adding some real size around Steph, things like that. I still think that they could really use a number 2. I think Lauri Markkanen's closer to a number 3 than he is a number 2. But you could argue, right? You look at a team like the Bucks with Giannis when they won the championship. Giannis was so great and such a generational talent that he didn't necessarily need a bona fide number 2, right? He was so good that season that you added Drew Holiday alongside Chris Middleton, who both guys aren't really a number 2. They're more number 3s, but the 2 of them collectively, along with, Brook Lopez and Bob Portis and all these guys, right? You add them to the incredibleness of a Giannis, and they were able to win a championship, right? In a lot of ways, same way with Denver, right? It's like they have the one bona fide superstar. Jamal Murray can be very inconsistent at times, but them as a team, as particularly that season, Jokic was so good, and everyone else was just right in their roles that they were able to win a championship. You could maybe do something like that with the Warriors. You could argue that that's what happened in 2022, right? Like, Steph was so good, and then on top of that, you had Andrew Wiggins, and then you had, Jordan Poole, and then still what Clay gave you and everything else, that collectively, they were, in Steph's greatness, they were able to get over the hump and win a championship. So maybe you could do something like that, where it's like, Steph, and then Wiggins can kind of regain some form. I would personally, if it's between Pod and Kuminga, I would keep Kuminga, right? Like, it sounds like they're more willing to trade Kuminga than they are Pod, but Kuminga's the one guy that I don't look at Pod and think he has superstar, star level potential. I think he's going to be a very good two-way player in this league at the guard position. Shoots well, play defense, hustles, gets after it. You want a guy like that. But Kuminga's a guy that, like, he feels like he's like a real, like, season away type. And look, it could be that thing. There's lots of players throughout the history of the league that, like, feel like they're a season away. And the next season, it's like, they're still a season away. And then they just never get that season. But you also can't teach Kuminga's height and size and athleticism. And when he's on, I mean, he's easily a 20-point-a-game night guy, if not more, right? Where I look at Pod more as, like, he is a blue chip rotation starting level guy, right? Like, I think that that's where he could be. And again, you never really know. Maybe he does break out and become just unbelievable, right? But I just kind of look at his game and kind of like what his role is. And I just think he's just a blue chip role player that really just, he's clear starting level guy, right? And I think Kuminga's the guy that you could tell me if you went into the future, you jumped in a time machine, you came back and you were like, hey, Kuminga's like a legit all-star, like 25-point-a-game guy, like just balling. Like, I would believe you. Right? I would even believe if you were like, dude, the guy might be a top 15 guy. Like, I would believe you. Not now, but I'm talking, several years, 3 years from now, something like that, right? Like, I wouldn't doubt it, right? In the same breath, just watching him, you could argue that he may never get better, but it's I think that he's worth the gamble, in my opinion. And then also you're adding Lauri Markkanen, so like, I just think also when Draymond leaves, you'd have Kuminga, you can slot Kuminga in that role, and now you have him and Lauri Markkanen, or you could run Kuminga at 3, and then Lauri Markkanen at the 4, and now you got to get a center. Like, I think that would be the better approach, but I don't know, it's just, they kind of feel like they're in a rock and a hard place, if I'm being honest. And they kind of seem like they're 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But we'll see. Time will tell. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think that they should do the trade for Lauri Markkanen? Do you think they should trade whatever they need to give up to land Lauri Markkanen? Do you think no, stay away from Lauri Markkanen? He's not the right piece. It's not the guy. However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.